It's Kane Hodder from Friday the 13th. You are listening to 13 Days of Friday on Rock Video Rental.
All right, welcome back to Rock Video Rental. We are continuing with our 13 Days of Friday 13th Marathon, and today we are on Jason X from 2001. It is directed by James Isaac. Uh, the cast is Kane Hodder as Jason, Lexa Doig as Rowan, Lisa Ryder as KM14, Jonathan Potts as Professor Lowe, and a bunch of other people that don't really matter. Plot this time is Jason Voorhees returns with a new look, a new machete, and the same murderous attitude as he is awakened on a spaceship in the 25th century. AKA Jason in space.
Can I just say that it seems like this series just keeps getting better and better with every movie that comes out.
Yes, and a spoiler, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. False. I hate this movie.
Fact.
I
Bears
have
eat
seen this movie 3 times, and it was 4 times too many. Um, I own every single Friday the 13th movie except for this one. It is I the first time I saw it, I'm like, "What am I watching? This is terrible." The second time I watched it, I'm like, "Okay, I've seen a lot of crap since then. Is this am I still gonna dislike this movie?" I watched it again when I was in college. Hated it again. This time, I was really dreading watching this, and like I said, I don't own this one. It's not streaming for free anywhere anymore because it was on HBO Max and they took it off like 2 weeks before we watched this.
because they realize it sucks so bad.
Yes. And I'm like, crap, I'm gonna have to pay money to watch this movie. First time I watched it, I rented it, like rented it on VHS and watched it. The second time I watched it free on Netflix for an account that I didn't even pay for. It was somebody's login. And then this time I had to pay, what was it, 2.99 for it off Voodoo of all things because nobody else seemed to have it. Yeah, and that's 2.99 I won't get back. And actually, you tried to use my login so you could still watch the rental I had, but it was already past due.
I know, I hate that. Like the fact that it's a couple days. I feel like you should at least have it in your system for like a week,
Oh yeah, I agree.
especially for crappy movies.
Yes, and you know what? People hate on Jason Takes Manhattan. Hate on that movie all you want. At least it felt like a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah. Okay.
At least it took place in like the real world, I guess.
Yeah. Now, one thing I want to say, dude, what are you talking about? It's the real world. It's just 445 years later. Come on. Um, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and like give into what my rating is going to be about this. So as you said, crap on Jason Takes Manhattan, like at least it was a Friday 13th movie. I'll say crap on this one too, but at least it wasn't like um Jason Goes to Hell, where it's just like, hey, we don't know what we're gonna do, so we're just gonna start like pulling stuff out of our
New
butts.
origin story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm already saying, like, I'm already giving you evidence that yes, I do not think this was great, but as you were saying, like Jason Takes Manhattan was still a Friday 13th movie. So was this. I'm going to say that slowly and hesitantly, but Jason Goes to Hell was absolutely bonkers, off the wall. Nothing. I mean, way too many freedoms and liberties taken with that one. This one, he still wants to kill, you know, young adults who resemble camp counselors,
Yeah.
especially when they're having sex because apparently that's what, awakes him from the dead, as they alluded to in this movie, which I feel like what they did with this is kind of what you mentioned in, what was it, part 4, where they added more comedy to it.
Part 6.
Part 6. Okay, I'm totally messing.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, a lot of people will defend this movie and
Mhm.
say, it didn't take itself seriously, so it was entertaining. Part 6 didn't take itself seriously either, and it was miles better than this movie
Oh yeah.
because I feel like Part 6 was a little more truthful or true to the original series, where this one, it feels like, and I guess, I'll get into this a little bit. It feels like an alien movie with Jason shoehorned into it.
Yeah, yeah, I can agree with that. And I didn't really care for the comedy element in um part 6. I mean, it was all right. It wasn't too much. This one was totally obvious that they were doing this with let's have some fun with it between some of the kill choices, and then also the fact that they were like, "Hey, Jason, somebody's having sex in your vicinity. Time to wake up."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that doesn't make it okay for me either. The only thing that gives this any kind of credit above any of the other Jason movies, which the only one I'm putting below this is Jason Goes to Hell, is the fact that it was still the basic concept, Jason going around killing people just to kill people. And Jason Goes to Hell didn't even keep up with that, because it was
Yeah.
all about like him possessing other people and all that crap.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Jason Goes to Hell and this one, to me, don't feel like Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah, that's
Um,
definitely
I
fair.
think it's just very much the setting because,
Mm.
even though that uh, Jason Takes Manhattan doesn't take place, in the woods, to me, it still had that old Friday the 13th feel to it. And it's a little hard to explain. Where this movie, like I said, it feels like Alien with
Hmm.
Jason shoehorned into it. And it's just, one of the facts I got on that, I'll just mention that one now. The screenwriter, he based a lot of the movie on Alien and named one of the characters Dallas after Tom Skerritt's character in Alien.
Mm.
So, a little obvious, I guess, with that. Um, I'm not a huge fan of series eventually going to space, and a lot of them seem to do it. I really hope that Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween never reach that point. Uh, I mean,
Nightmares in space,
Leprechaun did
space,
it, but
space, space.
Leprechaun was never a serious um, franchise to begin with.
Mm.
Uh, this movie though, so it starts off with this it's supposed to be like in the current time of this girl getting chased. She like pretty much dodges Jason. He gets into like a cryogenic tank, gets frozen. There's a leak in it, so she gets frozen too. And they're on like they're like in a research lab or something like that. And like way into the future, like 400 years in the future, they get discovered. Um, they pretty much thaw her out, I guess, and she's perfectly fine. They set
Well,
Jason aside.
they also have the whole like, you know, magic
Ants.
machine that can heal anybody.
It's like these magic ants or something like that.
Yeah.
Really weird. Um, Brings her back, and then brings Jason back, and he's awakened or whatever you want to say by two people banging. But yeah, just I don't know. Everything with this movie just kind of irritates me, and I feel the comedy is just too goofy for me. The concept is just too out there, and it doesn't feel like a horror movie. It feels more like a sci-fi movie. I'm not the biggest sci-fi fan aside from like Star Wars.
Hmm.
So it kind of misses on a lot of different things for me. And as bad as Jason Goes to Hell is, they tried to do something different too, but they still stuck more with the horror, and it had a more serious tone. For as terrible as that movie is, where this one I feel like almost kind of spits in the face of the rest of the franchise. Even down to like the look of Jason. I hate the look of Jason in this movie.
Yeah,
His
but
mask is like his mask is like tiny, and it doesn't even look like a hockey mask anymore. It looks like almost like a Hannibal Lecter mask. I don't know. I can't really explain it. It just doesn't look good. And like all of a sudden, Jason's got like fuzzy hair.
mhm.
Just it doesn't look good in this movie. And then don't even get me started on the quote unquote Uber Jason, which
Well,
happens towards the end. That's just beyond dumb.
the thing I want to say though about how you were having more problems with Jason Goes to Hell than this one is I feel while you feel like they stayed more true to the idea of like the horror and the seriousness in Jason Goes to Hell. And I totally agree with you that there was more of that sense to it. I feel like this one feels more like a Friday the 13th movie because the character and essence of Jason was still kept intact. While it was done terribly and they went way too far, like it would have been one thing if they did another Jason movie where they tried to make it more, you know, uh, add more comedy to it to like make jokes about the series as a whole. Like I'll use for example, like if about how he killed the fake counselors by banging the sleeping bags together or whatever.
Hmm.
No, I mean that was meant to be kind of funny because at the same point it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Um, if they had done that part where they're just like, hey, we're gonna do this and we're gonna make it, we're gonna just focus on some things that have been throughout the whole series and we're gonna have a little fun with it. I think that would have been one thing. Or if they had said, hey, we're gonna take this into space, but we're gonna still be really like creepy, alien-esque, really scary, keep people on their toes kind of thing. I think that could have kind of worked. But the fact that then they took both those concepts where they said, hey, we're going to go way out here, we're going to go into space, and we're going to have fun and try to make this funny too. That was just like a huge recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I agree. Um, and this is the second of the New Line Cinemas Friday the
Mm,
13th movies.
yeah.
Jason Goes to Hell was the first one. Um, yeah, two strikes right there.
Yeah.
Maybe Paramount was smart for selling it off. There are a couple things I like with the movie, and it's mostly just kills, I guess. Like you said, the character of Jason is more like Jason in the other movies than what Jason Goes to Hell was. Because, I mean, like I said, when we talked about Jason Goes to Hell, he's not even really in that movie.
Hmm.
Where this one, Jason's like this unstoppable killer. Uh, I enjoy that. I guess I appreciate that. But there's like two kills that I enjoy, I guess, that are kind of memorable for me.
Yeah.
Uh, you mentioned it's not really like real kills, I guess. It's just, the sleeping bag thing. That's a nod to part seven, and that was cut down.
Hmm.
Um, he was supposed to swing the girl up against a tree in a sleeping bag like multiple times, but the MPAA like marked it down to one, so it wasn't as effective. And this one, he just goes like crazy with it.
Yeah.
That
And they're
that whole
laughing.
that whole scene is kind of funny. That
Mhm.
yeah, I enjoyed that, but some of the other humor in it, I just don't get. Um, Probably the best kill in this movie is one of the best in the entire series. is when he sneaks up behind that doctor and dips her face into the liquid nitrogen and then slams her face into the counter.
Yeah.
That is one of the best kills in the entire series and the best part of the movie, at least for me.
Well, another one I'll give them credit for. Are you still going with kills, or were you going to move on to something else?
I guess the other one I was going to talk about is when he throws the guy onto that drill and the guy like spirals down it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one definitely has to be included, where that was like a memorable one as well. So
Yeah, I agree. Do you know how many kills are in this movie?
no, but actually, I do want to talk about that.
Okay. Well, there are 25.
That is inaccurate. You realize that?
Is it really?
Yes, because when they were supposed to be docking the ship at that station, they blew up that entire station. So this has to be the movie with the most kills from Jason. I don't know how many people are on that station, but I have to imagine it was quite a few.
Yeah, I think the only reason they don't really count those is because you don't know how many there are.
Yeah, but still, come on. I mean, what was the didn't they count was it Jason Goes to Hell? Don't most of the counters count the ones where they were just like he's killed X amount of civilians and it was
Yeah,
just
but
like
they
mentioned.
they mentioned how many.
So don't ruin this for
So
me.
there was a solid number to base it off from. I guess I could just go through the list like we always do. So Private Johnson gets his head bashed in and he's hung up with a chain.
Mm.
There's a soldier that gets hit with a gun. There's another soldier that gets shot with a gun. There is a third soldier that gets his neck broken with a chain. And the fourth soldier, he gets hit with a noose pole. Dr. Wimmer gets impaled on the noose pole. Sergeant Marcus gets knocked through a metal door. Adrian gets her head frozen in liquid nitrogen and slammed into the table, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, 444 years or 45 years later is the
Yeah,
next kill.
yeah. Stoney gets stabbed with a machete. Azrael gets back broken. Dallas gets his head bashed into a wall. Sven gets his back broken. Condor is the dude who gets impaled on the drill. Gecko gets throat slashed. Kicker gets sliced in half with a machete. Briggs gets impaled on a crane hook.
Oh
Lou is
yeah.
hacked with a machete. Solaris engineer gets blown up in the station. Dieter gets blown up in the station.
Wait a minute.
Uh,
Which ones were those? Again,
they were two kind of characters that were there for like 5 seconds.
they got
Part of
blown.
the bunch where it's like doesn't matter.
I'm having a hard time remembering. Just for context, real quick, I usually try to watch these movies on Wednesday nights before we record on Thursday nights, and so I watched this one last week. So there might be some gaps in my memory, but yeah, those two I can't remember which one that is.
Yeah,
Anyways, go ahead, keep
that
going.
happens with Friday 13th movies. Professor Lowe gets decapitated. Trevor gets his head crushed. Kinza is in an exploding shuttle.
Hmm.
Waylander gets her back broken. Janessa gets sucked through a grate into space. That one is kind of cool, but they didn't really show too much of it. They should have showed more. Sergeant Brodsky gets burnt in the atmosphere when he's like pulled Jason out into space.
Yeah, when he's trying to kill Jason, and of course, what we haven't even mentioned yet either is the fact that Jason, the Jason series or Friday 13 series, doesn't care about previous movies and what happens because no acknowledgement or explanation to the fact that Jason was supposedly in hell, but all of a sudden they start him in a research facility.
Yep, way she goes. That's kind of how these movies are. That's why I really enjoy the first four
Hmm.
because they pay attention to the older ones, and they're all the first four are the best four. If we're being honest.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess we got to mention too that there's an android named KM14.
And of course, when she goes in full like Rambo mode and defeats Jason, is just the best part of this movie franchise.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I love seeing a super awkward, lanky, redheaded woman in like leather garb beating up Jason Voorhees. That's amazing.
The Matrix meets Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, the terrible version of the Matrix. Gosh. Yeah, again, reminiscent of Alien. There's an android in it. Um, I guess, really, what else can I talk about other than Uber Jason? There's a point where, KM14 and the rest of the crew like slaughter Jason. They hack his arm off, and of course he falls right into that machine with the magical ants that fix everything. Uh, but somehow he gets a metal arm, like kind of like Jax from Mortal Kombat. And for some reason his mask mutates. Now he's got some weird looking metal mask with red eyes. And now Jason's like, I don't know, like part robot. And it's stupid. And I can't stand Uber Jason that a lot of people seem to love for some reason. I guess I don't get it. I don't know. I
Yeah.
always thought it was dumb that like his machete and his mask mutate when they're not even like living things.
Did his machete mutate though? I thought that was already just like a weapon
Yeah,
that was there.
it changes a little bit. I noticed it this time.
Okay.
That just the looks of it's kind of hard to explain. If you ever wanted to watch this again, you could pay attention to that, but I
I'm good,
wouldn't.
thanks.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Part of the thing that I'm really curious about that it really kind of bugs me is like I don't know who I watched this with the first time.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I watched it with anybody the first time I saw it.
I
Might
know
have
I
just been
didn't
by
watch
myself.
I know I didn't watch it by myself. So I don't know who I watched it with.
Second time I watched it with my roommate Josh at the time. We both thought it was stupid. Uh, I guess I'll just jump into trivia. This
Don't get too
this movie
excited.
just this movie just sucked my will to live, I guess. I mentioned that the screenwriter based it off Alien, and it's pretty obvious now that you hear that. It is also the least censored Friday the 13th movie, which is a shame
How would you
because
clarify it as being least censored? What?
they had the fewest amount of cuts by the MPAA
Oh,
on
okay.
it.
All right.
And I wish that would have been part 7 because I've seen like the raw footage of some of the kills and they're a lot more crazy and a lot more fun and a little more traditional with Friday the 13th franchise.
Mm-hmm.
It is the first Friday the 13th movie to rely heavily on digital effects.
Yeah, that was not
There,
good.
yeah, some of the digital blood is just horrendous. I mean, it's a product of its time, 2001. A lot of them look bad. Talking about you, Spawn movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, you're there too. Uh, yeah, I mean, there's still practical effects, so I enjoy that. But this marks the last appearance of Kane Hodder as Jason until he did the motion capture for the video game.
Yeah, he should have maybe stopped while he was you know, earlier.
Just stopped after 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, now we get into grades. Pulled from IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think the IMDb score is for this if you haven't seen it?
I have not seen it. I'm doing pretty good with that, with being able to avoid that. But I don't know. I'm kind of weird that I think not everybody is going to share our disappointment in this one compared to the scores for the other ones. I'm gonna go in at like 52 or like a 5.2. Sorry.
It is a 4.4.
Okay. Not far
Okay.
off, and I feel like that's more comfortable. I was a little bit worried that, some younger generation reviewers would jump in there and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best Friday 13th ever."
There are some people that think that. Those people are called idiots. Uh, Rotten Tomatoes score. So based on a scale of 100%, there's a critic and an audience. What do you think those are?
Critic, let's go with 38%.
20.
Ooh, nice. Well done, critics. Then the fan one, this is gonna be interesting. Let's go with 38% again.
25.
A little bit higher. Not as much as I thought it was gonna jump up, but
So the question of the hour is, what do you give this movie? What's your grade?
so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to adjust some of my grades when we do our last episode with this, where we review everything.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
but I'm gonna go with a very solid 1. 1 rock out of 5 rock. So that's does not rock very much.
All right. Well, I gave Jason Goes to Hell a 1. And I don't like that movie either, but I don't dread watching it. And I do own it. I think mostly because I didn't see the entire movie, and I bought it back before like Netflix was a big deal. Now I probably wouldn't buy that, but Jason X, dude, I can't. I had a hard time with this. Not just watching it. I mean, that's an obvious. Um, but I had a hard time grading this because is it worse than Jason Goes to Hell? I mean, it's debatable, but I mean, I'm going kind of off my feeling towards it, and I think it is the worst of the bunch. It's my least favorite of the bunch, I'll say that. So, based on my feeling for it, I had to give it a point 0.5.
All right.
I went under a 1.
Yeah.
I had to. There was, I already went down to 1 with Jason Goes to Hell. Unlike you, I've seen all these movies, so I knew what was coming, where you didn't really have too much to base that off from. So I don't think I'll really have to adjust my scores when we do our kind of wrap up or final episode on this.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah, so I
will
feel pretty confident giving it a point 0.5.
I will let you know that I'm preparing to have, because as of right now, none of them have been a point 0.5, but I am fully prepared to have a point 0.5 on my final list. So
Fair enough.
hint, hint,
Uh,
winkety wink.
this I wouldn't. Like I said, I despise this movie, but there's movies that I think are worse that I've seen and I dislike more.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, if we ever do another series review, like another horror series that kind of overlaps with this one a little bit, hint, hint. Um, well, I'll have to go down from a point 0.5 to a 0, but we'll get to that someday. That'll be a little taste there for you guys, a little preview. Um, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, fans of the series that crosses with this one. You'll know what I'm talking about. Um, so we only have 2 movies left in this series. It's been a long journey. 2
It
movies that are
has.
wrap up.
It has been a very long journey. And actually, if I can like use oh man, an example or a way to picture this, if there I feel like the way that you have described this movie, that you would be like, if there was one movie in this series that could be embodied in Jason Voorhees and the counselors could have just turned their back to and let drown in the lake, it would be this one for you.
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so I guess we can wrap it up there. Next episode, we will be talking about Freddy versus Jason, um, a movie that was supposed to happen after Jason Goes to Hell and took forever to come out. It took a 10-year hiatus, so we'll see if it lives up to the hype. I've seen it a few times. Have you ever seen that movie?
Nope. To keep people up to pace on all of that, I have not. This is my first time with the series. The only ones I saw previously were Jason X forever ago, and then we saw Jason Takes Manhattan last year. That was my only experience with Friday the 13th.
Have you seen any of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies?
None.
Oh, so this will be your first taste of Freddy Krueger, which
Mm-hmm.
is a kind of an interesting one to start at. Yeah, so we'll be back next time with our review of Freddy vs. Jason. Until then, be kind, rewind.